Welcome to the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room. I had a chance to attend the Bills Saints game this past Sunday and have a lot to discuss about it. Well, I'm your host, Jamie Malloy. I'd like to bring on my co-host, Joe Dalio, to discuss Week 4's matchups. So without any further delay, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jamie. How you doing today?
Good.
Good. I forgot you were at the game. I mean, I was thinking of it as I'm watching. I was like, oh, that's right. Jamie's at the game. But I forgot about that until right now. So how was it?
Oh, my God. It was way more electric than a normal game, I feel like, because it was a 1:00 game against an inferior opponent. But this is the final year at Highmark Stadium before they go to the new stadium. And I just think the whole team and the crowd is like just jacked for that. And I think when the last play, when they had to stop them on 3rd and 4 down, the crowd decimeter got up to over 100. And I think that was the loudest I think I've seen the stadium like since I've been there in my whole life.
That's awesome. So you think there's an extra energy, or you felt like there was an extra energy because of this being like a really special year?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, Joe, are you ready to talk about the Thursday night matchup between two 2-1 teams, the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals at State Farm Stadium?
All right, let's go.
Okay. In the first quarter, Chad Ryland kicked a 33-yard field goal to get the Cardinals their first lead of the game, 3-0. With 1:33 left in the first quarter, A.J. Barmer scored on a 16-yard pass from Sam Darnold to end the quarter at 7-3 Seahawks. With 1:01 left in the second quarter, Zach Charbonnet ran it in for a 1-yard touchdown, bringing the score to 14-3 at halftime. To begin the third quarter, Jason Myers hit a 44-yard field goal to bring the score to 17-3 Seahawks. Ryland kicked his second field goal of the game, this time for 57 yards, bringing the score to 17-6 Seahawks. With 9:33 left in the fourth quarter, Myers kicked his second field goal of the night, this time for 31 yards, increasing Seattle's lead to 20-6. With 5:50 left in the game, Marvin Harrison Jr. caught a 16-yard touchdown pass from Kyler Murray, cutting the lead to 20-13 Seattle. With 28 seconds left, Amara DiMarcado caught a 7-yard touchdown pass from Murray to tie the game at 20-all. With no time left, Myers kicked a 52-yard field goal to give Seattle the nail-biting win, 23-20. So, Joe, what did you think about the Cardinals making a comeback but not being able to finish at the end of the game?
Yeah, it shouldn't have been a nail-biter, that's for sure, right? I give the Cardinals a lot of credit for coming back here. I mean, it was 20-6, and really they had been dominated. I mean, not just on the score there, but the final yardage was like 384 yards to 253. So, in time of possession, I think was definitely in the Seahawks' favor as well. So really the Seahawks were dominating this entire game. So again, up 20-6 mid-third quarter. Definitely give the Cardinals credit for coming back. Too bad for them that they didn't come all the way back. But the fact that they made a game out of this at all, I think, they can hopefully, for them, take some of this momentum towards their next game.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think about the Seahawks almost blowing their chance of winning the game?
Yeah, well, I think they were counting their victory before it hatched, and I think it was a matter of taking their foot off the gas. Again, they had completely dominated this game. So, again, just a matter of taking the foot off the gas and thinking they had the game won in the third quarter, forgetting the fact that you got to play 60 minutes. Credit to them for realizing what had happened and the fact that they had completely lost their dominating lead, and then kind of having the ability to still finish it off at the end.
And you know what? I think Sam Darnold's a good fit with Seattle and what they want to do. I actually think he's a better fit than Geno Smith ever was, to be honest with you.
Okay. Now I thought Geno Smith was a good fit there, but I agree with you. I think Sam Darnold is a very good fit there. I mean, he obviously proved himself in Minnesota there, but I agree. I think he's a good fit in Seattle, and they're proving that so far. That offense is definitely moving, and we're seeing the Sam Darnold we saw last year here.
Well, no, what he's doing is he's learning the game's finally slowed down to him. You just play within the system and take
Mhm.
what the defense gives you, and that can win you games. It can win you championships too, even if you're not a franchise quarterback. Playing that
Yeah,
way can win you championships the way he is.
it may at least win them a division. We'll see. I mean, it's still a long way to go here, but they're certainly going to be contending for the division. I picked Santa Clara to win that division, and I still do. But I think that Seattle's going to be in the running the whole time. And like you said, I think he is a good fit. Now, the thing we're seeing with Sam Darnold, I believe here, and we started seeing this more with the Vikings last year, but he's not making mistakes, or at least as many as he used to. So, he's definitely matured that way, and the fact that he's minimizing the interceptions, and he's definitely making a lot more correct decisions here. That certainly helps.
And what helps is he's a much younger guy compared to Geno Smith. So that's what I think makes him a better fit, I think, now. That's
That's one
why.
thing that the Seahawks do have going for them, is the fact that, yes, he is younger, basically just hitting his stride now. So, although I think, the Seahawks got the best version of Geno Smith, I really believe that. And again, if
Mhm.
I'm a Seahawks fan, I have no regrets about what Geno Smith did for the team. But I think it was time for him to move on, and certainly the replacement that they have is at least as good, if not a better fit, than the previous guy.
And I also think he's a good bridge for Jalen Milroe, too, when it could be eventually his time.
Exactly. But now they don't have to rush that process, right?
Mhm. Um, so anyway, now turning our attention to our game, Joe, of the week, the 1 o'clock matinee between between the New Orleans Saints, who are 0-3, taking on the 3-0 Buffalo Bills at the last year at the current Highmark Stadium. So here we go, folks. The Bills got on the board first as Khalil Shakir caught a 43-yard pass from Josh Allen and did his best Marshawn Lynch impression, breaking a bunch of tackles and taking it to the house for a touchdown to tie the game at 7-all. The Bills regained the lead as James Cook scored on a 7-yard run, bringing the score to 47. Bills, how about the way he's running? He keeps on running, Joe, downhill, north and south, and worth every penny, too.
The guy just keeps getting better.
Yep. With 5:51 and a half, Blake Grupe from Notre Dame cut the lead with a 54-yard field goal to bring the score to 14-10 Bills at the half. With 6:42 left in the third, Allen took it in himself, of course, because he's the MVP and that's the way he plays. If nobody else will do it, I'll take over the game. Which another familiar quarterback in to the Giants by the name of Jackson Dart, who, if you saw the Giants game, he kind of looked, when Brian Dable said he looked like Josh Allen, he wasn't kidding. He kind of ran and played like Josh Allen. So, but anyway, with 14 seconds left in the third quarter, Chris Olave caught a 3-yard touchdown pass from Spencer Rattler, but the 2-point conversion try failed, bringing the score to 21-16 Buffalo. With 8:53 left in the fourth quarter, Dalton Kincaid caught a 28-yard pass from Allen, increasing the Bills' score to 28-19. With 2:09 left in the game, Matt Prater kicked a 35-yard field goal to put the game away, giving the Bills a 4-0 record, while the Saints go marching home at 0-4 with the final score of 31-19. So, Joe, did you get a little nervous when you saw the score 21-19 after Groupie kicked the second field goal?
Yeah. Was I nervous throughout that game? Yes and no. Now, I'm going to say no because I've never seen a game go. Well, not that I've never seen it, but I mean, this game went so much according to the script that I had mapped out for it. I think I said it on the show here. I said it to some people that I had talked to during the week and some people I was watching the game with. I said the Bills are going to struggle in the first half here. I really think the Saints are going to give them a fight. I really think it's going to be very close at halftime, and I wouldn't even be surprised if the Saints are winning at halftime. And then I could see the Bills taking it away in the second half. And what happened? I mean, the Bills struggled. I mean, you were there. I mean, I sounded like some fans were booing the Bills. And I was like, what are these people worried about? It's, again, slow start.
Booed because the refs made a lot of bad calls towards the end of the second half. I was there. That's why.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because I couldn't really tell, watching it on TV. But I was like, this game, the Bills are still going to win this game. I thought they were going to cover the spread. I really did. It was like 15.5. I had them to cover it. I said they're going to. And again, I think the score I predicted was like 34-17. I was like, it's going to come out that way. They're going to win by 15, 16, 17, whatever we had them winning by. Now, the only point that I did get nervous is when the Saints scored, and it would have put them ahead. Now, the reception didn't count, and they never did go ahead. But that's what I couldn't see from the TV angle. And at first, I thought he caught the ball. He had me fooled. So it's like, okay, now all of a sudden, this is not going according to the script that I had, or that anybody in that stadium or anybody watching had. That was a point of the game where I'm thinking, is this seriously not going to go the Bills' way? How embarrassing would it be to lose a game like this? Now, you weren't watching on TV, but I didn't know this, but they put a graphic on there. They said, not since 1975. All right, so 50 years ago, that's even before I started watching football here, had a team started 3-0 that lost at home to a team that had started 0-3. The Packers beat the Cowboys there. The Cowboys were 3-0 at that point, the Roger Staubach Cowboys, and the Green Bay Packers. The Packers beat the Cowboys in Dallas at 0-3, where Dallas was a 3-0. That's the last time a winless road team beat an undefeated home team at that point of the season. And I was like, come on. I was like, this is not going to happen. But then it seems like as soon as they denied that touchdown, which you could see clearly on the replay that it was not a catch, I think everybody just kind of exhaled at that time and say, okay, now come on, let's get a stop. They did. And then, the Bills were able to take the game away, and they still won by 12. They didn't cover, but that was the only point where I was getting a little worried. Otherwise, I thought for 3/4 of this game, it was going exactly according to the script and still in a way came out the way that I figured it would.
I agree. And Joe, what did you think about James Cook rushing for over 100 yards again in this game?
It's almost becoming the expectation now, and it seems like, again, modern NFL, so many times, even guys like Derrick Henry, he'll have a blockbuster game where nobody can stop him. And then everybody's writing him in the Hall of Fame. And the next game, he rushes for 10 times for 20 yards the entire game and does nothing. Receivers do that all the time, right? You'll see some of the best receivers, make 6 catches for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then come back the next game, make 2 catches for 20 yards and not show up. That's not happening with James Cook. I don't know if he's gone over 100 in all of the games, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's done like 3 out of the 4 at least, if not all 4. But this one, again, 117 yards and a touchdown, and it's becoming commonplace, and it's becoming extremely consistent that he's going over 100 yards. So none of those off games here. James Cook is, proving week in, week out that he's one of the best, if not the best at this point, running back in the NFL.
I agree with that. What did you think about big boy Deion Walker having a big impact on the game this week? Now, Joe, I know the run defense statistically doesn't look that well, but man, if he keeps playing the way he does and TJ Sanders keeps growing, these young guys on the interior and Ed Oliver comes back, I think we're going to have a good run defense. And I think Deion Walker is going to be a player in this league.
Yeah, this dude was all over the place. And I that's obviously his coming out party, I think, because he came from nowhere. And it just seemed like he was all over the field here and making big plays, some of the biggest defensive plays of the game. So definitely good to see. And he's only going to grow and do better. And then, like you said, the depth is going to increase as some of these guys come back. We'll talk about an injury report. Not that I have a lot of news on that. But some of these guys could be coming back as soon as this week. And, that's certainly going to make a difference on the defense as well. And like you said, I agree. I think that'll certainly help that weakness of the run defense at this point.
Mm-hmm. Joe, we used to have a player like him. I think you remember who it was, right?
There's a few that could match the description, and I'm going to apologize. I don't know the direction you're going at this point. Who are you talking about?
Sam Adams.
Okay. I can see that. Well, they're playing the Patriots next week, so are we going to see this guy running a fumble return back for a touchdown like Sam Adams did that time against Brady and the Patriots?
I think so. He as much as athletic Sam Adams was, they said this guy's even more athletic for somebody who's 6'7", 331. Like when he goes through the defenders, he's quick on his feet. They said he's like a ballerina. He goes do and bam, he's already in the backfield. And he's light on his feet for a guy that big.
Exactly. So, and again, this was the first that I really saw of him. He might have made some contributions in the first few games, but this again was the coming out party. And we'll be seeing a lot more of him if he continues to play like this.
See, I think he's like Jordan Phillips, but I think he's a lot more athletic than Jordan Phillips is. That's what I'm saying. Jordan Phillips is a big guy, but he doesn't have the athleticism and the grace and the quickness, I think, like Deion Walker has for a guy the same size.
For that size. Yeah, you're right.
So, with let's see. Ed, what did you think? What was up with that Joe Brady blunder at 4th and 1 when they could have ran it up the middle or tried to tush push, but he ran an end around with Elijah Moore, and he got tackled like 3 yards back of the line to gain.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it just seemed very rushed at that point. It was not well thought out, not just because of the result, but it just seemed that it was rushed and it was not well thought out. So just like you said, a blunder. He doesn't have many of those. So, I guess we could excuse this one. And
he's still a young coordinator. Young coordinators learn from that.
Yeah, and exactly. He will. And again, just a blunder. That was a good way to put it. And that's all it was, I believe. And
it's the same thing with Bobby Babbitt's defense, Joe. I mean, he's a young defensive coordinator and they got a young defense. So that's going to help them. At least, like I said, they're building a nice defense that I think is going to be good long-term, even if there's short-term growing pains, I think,
Yeah. Who else played a very good game on defense too, I was going to mention is Tre'Davious White. I think this was his best game of the season, and nice to see what a healthy Tre'Davious White can do. Now let's knock on wood and hope that he's an injury-prone player. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. An injury-prone player see what he can do when he's healthy. And I thought he had a solid performance. In fact, he led the team with 7 tackles and, again, some key tackles. And it seemed like when they needed a big defensive play, Tre'Davious White was there. So very happy with the game that he played. And again, you talk about defensive contributions and defensive depth, then I think, he played an excellent game here. Now, you look at this game statistically too, it was quite even. The Saints kept up with the Bills here. Now, the Bills only had about 58 more total yards. The turnovers were even at 1-1. The Saints weren't turning the ball over. And the time of possession was like 31-29 Bills. So there was a lot of even stats here that this game could have gone either way, and definitely credit the Saints for keeping up and putting a big scare into the Bills. And I thought they were maybe thinking the same thing I was thinking. Look, we're going to win this game. We know we are. We're going to pull this out. It's only a matter of time. And perhaps they took it too much for granted and again, almost put themselves in a position to possibly lose it. But, they didn't. And, there was some good defensive performances, good offensive performances. Now, 2 out of the 3 games the Bills played, there was 9 different receivers that caught passes. Now, it's weird for me to say this, the fact that only 7 caught passes in this game too. We're so used to seeing 9 or even 10 guys get thrown at. It was only 7 this time, but still, good job by all the receivers, led by Khalil Shakir, 5 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. But solid performance by a lot of those guys too.
I agree. And so anyway, now before we turn it over to Joe for any injury update segment, let's give our prediction for next week's game against New England at home. Joe, you want to go first?
Sure. And again, just like the Saints gave the Bills a fight, I think the Patriots are going to give them a fight. And this similar to this game. Now, I don't think the Bills play sloppy. I think the Bills are going to play a very solid, fundamentally sound game. You don't think Sean McDermott's going to let them get away with the sloppiness that we saw, right? And you could see even during the game, again, on TV, you could tell he was agitated and he was ticked off and he did not like the way things were going. Again, he didn't like a lot of the calls that were being made either, but he was very unhappy with the way the team was playing. I don't see that happening here. I think you're going to have a very disciplined, determined Bills team coming out here for this game, just like you're going to have a determined Patriots team. I think this is going to be a very clean game, a very hard-fought game. 2 teams playing it tough, playing their best. Still, I have it Bills 35, Patriots 20.
Okay. I think, like I said, I think the Bills are going to get up for this game. They're facing another young quarterback, just like the Saints. Mm-hmm. Even though they weren't good, they had a young quarterback. They're facing a young quarterback who a lot of people think he's also Josh Allen, the way he plays, by the name of Drake May. And last time we played him in 2024, even though Gerard Mayo was coach, you could see he played well against Allen. I think he's going to play well again. And guess what, Joe? Nobody, I don't think, is ever going to go 17-0 in this format. Mm-hmm. And it would be funny if the Bills, did that in their last year and they won the Super Bowl, doing something that 2 things that would have never been possible. But however, though, we don't lose at home right now. We haven't lost at home. And I think a loss is coming at some point, but it's not going to happen here. I think the Bills win. I think they're going to win 33-24.
33-24. Okay. I could see something like that happening as well. Again, we're going to see 2 teams. Now, I got Drake May as my fantasy quarterback, so I'm hoping he puts up big stats, hopefully not too good. I had Joe Burrow, and he went down for the season. But since I've had Drake May as my quarterback, my fantasy team has scored like 290 points in the last 2 weeks. So Joe who? So hopefully Drake May puts up the stats, but doesn't pull out a victory here.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get the best of both.
Right. So, Joe, you want to do our injury update segment?
All right, definitely. Now, I'm going to apologize that I don't have a lot of news for some of these players because there's some interesting, things happening here because IR is usually a 4-game stint, right? And the Bills have some guys that are eligible to get off of IR. All right. So not my fault that I don't have all the stats, and I'll share why in a second. Now, first of all, let's share about some of the most recent injuries. You mentioned Ed Oliver. Matt Milano's missed a couple of days. Spencer Brown. So all of them are questionable for week 5. It's a little bit too early in the week to determine if they're going to be on the field. Now, there was some talk that Oliver and Milano could have maybe come back for this game against the Saints. I think, again, not that you take this game for granted, but I think maybe that the game was against the Saints had something to do with it. Let's just wait another week to give these guys to heal. So they're questionable. There's a chance that they're back. Now, if you were watching on TV, this looked bad. Punter Cameron Johnson, when he got hit with the roughing the kicker call, I looked like a torn ACL to me when he got hit. And he actually did come back out on the field with a brace on that knee, only to hold a field goal, that final field goal attempt there. I give him credit for that. I mean, he's from Australia. I was joking with the friends I was watching the game with. As he's out there with the brace, I said he could have his leg dangling by the knee ligament, and he's still going to come out there and play, right? That's what these Australian football players do. Now, quote from Sean McDermott, the quote is, "Will be sidelined a bit, although there's a chance that he may have escaped serious injury." Again, it looked to me like ACL, the way that leg bent, the way it's not supposed to. And I was telling, again, the people I'm with, I said, okay, that's it. We're going to have a new punter next week. And that's the end of this guy. And he was doing well. So I don't know when or if he's coming back this season. We'll see. But they said, again, he may have escaped serious injury. Now, let's talk about some of those IR guys here. The rookie first-round pick, Max Hairston, eligible to come back. Some kicker named Tyler Bass, eligible to come back week 5. Some receiver you might have heard of named Gabe Davis, eligible to come back. Now, I was trying to do some digging here. It's like, okay, are these guys coming back? And Sean McDermott was not committed to really say anything about that. I read some other articles to try to get some info, and it looks like, probably I wouldn't be surprised if none of them came back this week. But the problem is if they don't, what do you do with them? I was having a discussion at dinner with some friends Sunday night. We were talking about like Tyler Bass. Like if he's ready to come back and the way, Matt Prater is kicking the ball, it's like, what do you do with Tyler Bass? Do you put these guys on like a season-long IR or, you can't really put them on the practice squad, right? Because then they could be picked up. I don't know exactly what the rules are as far as that's concerned. I'll ask you about that maybe in a second. But, I would not be surprised if we see none of these guys, at least, this week. And, I know, Jamie, what I say might, you might disagree here because I know you're a big Tyler Bass supporter. Mm-hmm. The way Matt Prater is kicking, my opinion is you keep him kicking and you keep him as the guy until he proves that he's not the guy.
I actually agree with that. If it ain't broke, Don't fix that.
And that's the way to put it. Again, that's not a knock against Tyler Bass.
It's not at all. Not at all, Joe.
Yeah. -1 bad kick from Prater. This guy's been spot on. He got hit the game winner in the first game, and he's been clutch. And again, even a game like this where they needed to put the game away, he did that. Now, I don't know if you know the rules on this, Jamie. Like, what do you think happens with some of these guys that I mentioned?
Oh, I definitely think they would get released. Tyler Bass would be gone. I think no ifs, ands, or buts.
Okay, so you think so? Is the guideline that they get?
They
put
would go on IR.
Okay,
a permanent IR,
like the season-long IR.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what I thought, and that's the guys I was talking to at dinner Sunday night. We were kind of saying there was a good chance that could possibly happen. I didn't know exactly. Again, I'm not as well versed. Probably should have looked into that before we came on here. But still, I think the way things are going, and it's not like, even Hairston, it's like you would love to see him again, first round draft pick. I don't know what his injury status really is. And again, McDermott's not really telling us anything at this point. So it'll be interesting. He's the main one that I guess I would like to see. And maybe they can find room for him. Gabe Davis, I couldn't care less. It's just, again, I thought he was overrated when he was here. He'd have a major blockbuster game. And again, people had him penciled in for the Hall of Fame, and then he wouldn't show up for 4 games. So I wouldn't be sad to see him go. Again, Tyler Bass, no offense. If he had to go on season-long IR, that wouldn't be a problem for me. But I just I think Hairston's the guy that I'd like to see, especially with the need on defense, and they can certainly afford to have extra guys there. I would love to see him get a chance to get some playing time.
Mm-hmm. The one, what's the one argument though I can make for keeping Gabe Davis?
What's that?
He may not be valuable in terms of catching the ball, but he's a big dude, right?
Right.
And what do the Bills like to do now? They run a lot of heavy personnel with twin tight ends to help Cook run. What if you bulk him up to just be a blocker and have him come in on blocking situations when they play smash mouth football to let Cook run, kind of like what Dan Campbell does with Amon-Ra St. Brown? I was thinking, what do you think of that idea?
I do like that idea. It's something I honestly never thought of. But again, you're right. The Bills have those types of plays, and they're using them more. And I mean, I think he would certainly be a valuable asset there. It's just, again, I guess depending on needs of the roster. It's not like the Bills don't have guys to throw to. And it's not like the Bills don't have guys, that can block. They have 100 tight ends on this team. And, those guys like Knox and what's his Haas or whatever, can do that too. Nothing against Gabe Davis there. And again, he'd be very good at that. I would agree. My take on that is still, do you have room enough for him on the roster when maybe there's other needs that need to be addressed first?
Right. But you know what? He may not be a valuable receiver anymore, but Joe, I bet you during his workouts, I bet you he does sled pull pushes because he's that big of a receiver.
Yeah. And again, I agree with you. He would be an amazing blocker and, create some holes. And, we know what James Cook does when he's got those holes to, to move through. So again, I like the idea. It's just, again, are there other needs first to address before you start thinking about getting him in there? We'll see. Again, I was digging and it's early in the week yet. And, again, McDermott's not saying much at this point. So stay tuned for that, though. And, I'll leave that to the audience, too. That's something that we're all in suspense about and what's going to happen with these players. And, that's something we can all look for during the week.
Let's see. So, anyway, let's turn our attention to the 4:25 p.m. showdown between 2-1 and 2 teams that really in the beginning of the season we didn't think would be 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at GHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. The Ravens opened up the scoring with a Justice Hill touchdown catch from Lamar Jackson to bring the score to 7-0 Ravens. With 5:40 left in the first quarter, Harrison Butker kicked a 38-yard field goal to bring the score to 7-3 Baltimore. Butker opened up the second quarter with his second field goal of the afternoon, this time for 23 yards, cutting the score to 7-6 Baltimore. With 4 minutes left in the second quarter, Juju Smith-Schuster caught a 4-yard pass from Mahomes, taking their first lead of the game, 13-7 Kansas City. With 1:41 left in the half, Isaiah Pacheco caught an 8-yard pass from Mahomes to increase the Chiefs' score 20-7. To close out the half, Tyler Loop, there it is, kicked a 43-yard field goal, bringing the score to 20-0 Kansas City. To start the second half, Tyquan Thornton caught an 11-yard touchdown pass from Mahomes to increase their lead 27-10. With 7:22 left in the third, Luke, there it is, kicked the second field goal of the afternoon, this time for 32 yards, cutting the lead to 27-13 Kansas City. To close out the third quarter, Butker kicked his third field goal for 31 yards, bringing the score to 30-13 Kansas City. To start the fourth quarter, Hollywood swinging, Brown caught a 15-yard pass from Mahomes to increase the Chiefs' lead to 37-13. The Ravens close out the game as Hill ran it in for 71 yards, touchdown to bring the final score to 37-20 Kansas City. So, Joe, what do you think about the Chiefs getting back to 500 after starting out 0-2?
Yeah, so first I'll ask you, there's a Hill on Kansas City, and his name is not Tyreek?
No, he's on Baltimore, Justice.
Oh, on Baltimore. Oh, that's right. It was the running back there. But here's my take on this game. Now, one of these teams was going to be 1-3. And I'm thinking it's a lot less likely the Chiefs are going to be 1-3 than the Ravens. Plus, now I've been making sports bets officially here for like the 6 years now. I don't think I've had an easier one handed to me on a golden platter like this one. The Chiefs were 2.5-point underdogs at Arrowhead Stadium. Okay. Now I know the Chiefs maybe are a step down as to what they used to be, but still, I don't care who they're playing here. You're going to give me the Kansas City Chiefs now with 2.5 points at Arrowhead Stadium? I mean, the bet was gift wrapped, handed to me on a golden platter. And as it was an easy result as well. I could not believe that the Chiefs were underdogs in this game at home. And again, they played like it. Now, I think now the Ravens have some serious concerns, especially if Lamar Jackson is not healthy. I don't know what his status update is at this point. But you know which Patrick Mahomes I saw? We saw like 2022, 23, 24 Patrick Mahomes here. Or I'd say 23, 22, 21. This was the legitimate Patrick Mahomes that we've known and, you know, have ticketed for GOAT status perhaps at some point. He played like it, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, certainly it helped to have Worthy back. And, you know, they did it Bill style, 9 different players for the Chiefs catching passes. And that's the way they're going to have to keep doing it because they really don't have you know, the one standout guy. I mean, maybe Worthy, you could say. And again, he made a big difference in the offense coming back. But, you know, the crazy thing is the overall yards in this game, offensive yards, were generally even. So how in the world did the Chiefs win by this much? I mean, there were 2 turnovers for the Ravens, none for the Chiefs. But still, I was a little surprised to see that the yards, offensive yards per team were generally even. So, you know, certainly the Ravens have some concerns and, you know, the Chiefs just keep playing these tough teams. And again, 2-2. And I look at some of the power ratings. Sagarin is one of the ones I look at a lot and I take a lot of stock in. And he's still got the Chiefs as one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. And when you look at it going 2-2 against the teams that they've played, perhaps you can't doubt that. I don't know if I would have him in the top 5, but certainly some of the professionals out there do. And now with some guys coming back, be careful, all right, because the Chiefs mean business, and they're laughing at the fact that people have them left for dead. So look out for this team going forward.
Okay, and what do you think about Lamar Jackson going down and Cooper Rush having to step in for him?
Yeah, again, if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm very concerned. No offense to Cooper Rush, but Lamar Jackson is the MVP of this team, and if he can't go, then you're going to be in some serious trouble, and you're going to have to kind of change the dynamics of the team. And is there maybe a seat that's starting to get hot in Baltimore as far as on the coaching staff? There's a lot of people that are not high on Mr. Harbaugh anyway. And now the fact that they're under a 1-3 start and things are starting to fall apart a little bit. If we start talking about coaching hot seats, I think you got one in Baltimore.
That's interesting. Moving on to the 8:20 p.m. Sunday night game with the 2-1 Green Bay Packers taking on the 1-2 Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. On the opening drive of the game, Green Bay drove the ball down the field on an 8-play drive for 69 yards. And Jordan Love threw a 2-yard pass to Romeo Doubs, bringing the score to 7-0 Green Bay. With 10:37 left in the second quarter, Green Bay scored again on a 68-yard drive with Love connecting with Doubs again for a touchdown, but Marquise Bell blocked the extra point and ran it in for a touchdown, bringing the score to 13-2 Green Bay. With 44 seconds left in the second quarter, Dak Prescott ran a QB draw to bring the score to 13-9 Green Bay. With 16 seconds left in the half, James Houston strip sacked the ball, recovered the fumble, and on the next play, Prescott threw a 15-yard touchdown pass to George Pickens, giving Dallas their first lead of the game, 16-13. With 7:11 left in the third quarter, Green Bay scored on a 76-yard drive as Jacobs scored on a 1-yard touchdown. On a 1-yard touchdown play to bring the score to 20-16 Green Bay. With 2:07 left in the third quarter, let me love you a long time, Ferguson, scored on a 20-play, 80-yard drive to bring the score to 23-20 Cowboys. With 11:45 left in the fourth quarter, Jacobs scored on an 8-play, 70-yard drive to bring the score to 27-23 Packers. With 4:52 left in the game, Javonte Williams scored on a 14-play, 77-yard drive to take the lead 30-27 Cowboys. With 1:49 left in the game, Doubs scored on a 10-play, 80-yard drive to give the Packers the lead 34-30. With 50 seconds left in the game, Prescott threw a 28-yard pass to Pickens to take the lead once again, 37-34. As time expired, Brandon McManus kicked a 53-yard field goal to tie the score. It's 37-all, bringing the game to overtime. With 4:42 left in overtime, Brandon Aubrey kicked a 22-yard field goal, bringing the score to 40-37 Dallas. So, Joe, what do you think? No, never mind. Wrong page. With 1 second left in the game, McManus kicked a 34. No, hold on. With 4:42 left in overtime, Brandon Aubrey kicked a 22-yard field goal, bringing the score to 40-37 Dallas. With 1 second left in the game, McManus kicked a 34-yard field goal to tie the score of the game, and that's how it would end, 40-all. So, Joe, what do you think about that game tying, and should the NFL do something about ties?
Well, I don't like ties in the NFL. I'll say that. And yes, I think the NFL should do something and go back to the way they had it. Why all of a sudden do you have to cut these periods to, these overtime periods to 10 minutes when it was always a full quarter? Now, yes, you could still get a tie in a full quarter, but I just don't understand why the NFL ever changed that. So I say go back to the 15-minute quarter. And then if you get a tie, you get a tie. I'm surprised there's not more of them. And I see no reason that the NFL had to change it to 10 minutes instead of 15. So that's the one change I would make. You can't play these games forever, obviously, but I think they had it right the first time. If I could say a little bit about this game too, and again, I didn't catch the end of it. Now, I think Green Bay is a Super Bowl contender here. I really do. And, the Cowboys, I think, are not there. I think they're a playoff contender. And I really thought the Cowboys were going to keep this game close. I said, if not win the game. And the way this game started for the first quarter or so, I was like, oh, my goodness, Green Bay is going to blow this team out. And I think the turning point was when that extra point was blocked and the guy ran it back all the way through. That rule has been in the NFL for, 10 years. And I can still count on one hand the number of times I've actually seen an extra point blocked and run back and the 2 points scored on that. It's very, very rare. But that seemed to be the turning point of this game. Now, I've always had this fascination with the Cowboys, and I shouldn't say always. The last two seasons, I noticed this 2 years ago. The Dallas Cowboys were unbeatable at home. And I shared this on our podcast back then. They were 8-0 during the regular season. Now, of course, the playoffs with Mike McCarthy were a totally different story. But they were 8-0 at home, outscoring their opponents 40-15 at home. Last year, they had a horrible home record. I think they only went like 2-6 or whatever. And they were almost outscored by the same margin. They were destroyed at home almost by like a 40-15 count. Mm-hmm. This year, the Cowboys have played 2 home games, and basically that stuff is combined. I mean, they've given up. They've scored, I think, about 80 points at home, almost 40 points a game, and given up probably about 37 points a game. So they're 2-0 at home, but with both offensively and defensively all going about 40 points. So unbelievable. It's the craziest home swing I've seen that I can remember in all my years watching football. I mean, you get a team like the Bills that consistently win at home. They haven't been this good at home in a long time. And you get other teams like that, or maybe some teams that are a little weaker at home. But I've never seen a swing like this where a team is so dominant at home one year, then they stink at home the next year, and then come back the next year, and it all kind of combines. So keep an eye on that with the Cowboys. I find it very interesting. Maybe I'm the only football fan out there that does, but I just wanted to share that. I noticed that, and it's kind of crazy how it works there.
Mm-hmm. I do like the fact, though, that Chris Collinsworth said the one reason why they traded Micah Parsons was to improve their run defense. And guess what? Their run defense is now actually in the middle of the pack. It's no longer at the bottom of the league anymore.
Okay, that's a good stat.
That trade is accomplishing what they want to accomplish in terms of that.
Okay, awesome. I didn't realize it had improved that much.
It did. So, and I think I like Schottenheimer. I think he could be a good fit for Dallas. We'll see.
Much better fit than his predecessor.
Right. I agree. Mm-hmm. So Joe, what do you think about? What did you think about the Cowboys trade now after this game against Green Bay?
It's the best trades are the ones that help both teams, and this is one of those trades. Now, I think perhaps the Packers might have given up a little bit too much. I think. But this certainly helping them in the short run. Having Micah Parsons is a big lift to their defense, and he's making contributions. And I think their overall entire defense is better with him there. The Cowboys, like you just said, I mean, they've had immediate improvements in their run defense. And I don't think they've even gotten the best out of this deal yet, because everything the Packers gave up and some of those draft picks, if they do it right, in the long run, the Cowboys are going to really, do well with this deal too. So
They
I think
could pick up some. They could pick up some, maybe some immediate young players right away for next year with that.
that's it. Both of these teams benefited from this deal. I think the Cowboys are going to get the best of it, though, because, again, they're benefiting now. And like you said, they're going to get some good young players down the road that help the team as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now our last game of the week, the Monday Night Challenge between two killer 0-3 teams. One team I think is actually trending up, though, the Jets. And even at 0-4, I still think you could tell, though, that Aaron Glenn's trying to turn it around. It's just self-inflicted penalties and things like that. They're playing hard. It's not like they aren't. So,
right.
And Tony Kornheiser on ESPN, he was like, oh, the Jets made a mistake getting rid of Aaron Rodgers and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, Aaron Glenn did the right move. They had to get rid of him. Justin Fields is a better fit for Aaron Glenn's system, even though they're 0-4 than Rodgers would have been.
I completely agree. It would have been a mistake to keep Aaron Rodgers.
The reason why he's doing it at Pittsburgh, he's in a make it or break it year, and he's on a 1-year deal. And like I said, even though they're 3-1, he's probably not going to even be in the league that much longer anyway. So
right, exactly.
Justin Fields at least is still going to be in the league, I think.
That's right.
So, anyway, to begin the game, Riley Patterson kicked a 47-yard field goal to give Miami their first lead of the game, 3-0. To begin the second quarter, Darren Waller caught a 4-yard pass from Tua Tagovailoa to increase the Dolphins' lead to 10-0. As time expired in the first half, Jets kicker Nick Folk kicked a 58-yard field goal to bring the score to 10-3 Miami. With 11:38 left in the second quarter, or in the third quarter, Waller caught a 9-yard pass from Tua to bring the score to 17-3 Dolphins. With 9:23 left in the third, Justin Fields rushed 43 yards for a touchdown to cut the score to 17-10 Dolphins. To close out the third quarter, Devon A-Chain ran it in for a 9-yard touchdown, bringing the score to 24-10 Miami. To begin the fourth quarter, Folk hit his second field goal, this time for 50 yards, cutting the lead to 24-13 Miami. Oh, my God. Anyway, with 3:38 left in the game, Patterson hit his second field goal, this time for 36 yards, bringing the score to 27-13 Miami. The Jets had one last try as Garrett Wilson caught a 23-yard pass from Fields, but the onside kick failed, giving the Dolphins their first win of the season, 27-21. So, Joe, with both being 0-3 teams, did you think that the better team won?
No. I like what you said. Now, I expected the Dolphins to win this game, honestly. They were playing at home, again, with both teams being 0-3. And I did expect the Dolphins to win this game, and they did. So I'm not surprised at that. I agree completely with what you said before you started the summary of that game. You got two teams trending in different directions. I still think the Jets are the better team and end up that way going forward.
Me too.
But this was one of those things that between the two teams, I think that, the Dolphins won the battle, but I think the Jets ultimately win the war and finish higher in the standings than the Dolphins do. And I think when they play again in New Jersey, that, the Jets will be able to win that game. So, again, give the Dolphins credit. They showed up. They played very well. And like you said, the Jets showed up too. It's not like they're not trying. I just think they have a better situation, and that ship is going to right. And I think the Jets are going to win some games down the road and end up being the better team. So,
Yep.
No, I don't think the better team won. I just think that the more desperate team, maybe because they were playing at home last night and, had that advantage, I think they won. But no, I think this was, the Jets will be better in the long run. And some encouraging things for the Jets too. I mean, Justin Fields played like the Justin Fields that we expect to see, right? He led the team in rushing, believe it or not. He had 81 yards rushing, 226 yards passing, and a touchdown. So that's the Justin Fields that we expected to see. Breece Hall had a nice game too with 81 yards. In fact, I think they were tied, actually. Him and Justin Fields both had 81. Now, I admire all over the place tackling machine defenders, right? That's why I love Dorian Williams of the Bills. He's all over making tackles. How about this for a stat? Jordan Brooks of the Miami Dolphins, 15 solo tackles in that game. Crazy. 18 that he was in on, that he, total that he assisted on and made. That's the highest I've seen all year for a total in a game. So great game there, Jordan Brooks. But again, the Jets made a game out of this. They could have been blown out of this, and they didn't. They weren't. And like I said, the Dolphins won the battle, but I think ultimately the Jets end up in a better spot.
Right. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you on social media on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025, the last show of September?
Unbelievable. Wake me up. September is over, right? Wake me up when September ends. So I can be found on Joe Dell Sports, Twitter, X, as well as the open mic program on this network as well, which will be heading over there shortly on. So how about you, Jamie? Where can we find you?
You can find me on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dogtags and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and hit that bell for notifications. For more content on Driving to the Top Productions, please visit our YouTube page, Twitch stream, Facebook stream, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, folks, can the Bills beat the Patriots at home to stay undefeated at 5-0? Will Mike McDaniels be able to keep his job one more week by winning over the Jets? Can Baltimore stay in the playoff picture with backup quarterback Cooper Rush starting this week? And the quarter friend Chris Berman, nobody circles the undefeated wagons, especially when they're playing at home in the final year of Highmark Stadium, like the Buffalo Bills. See you next week, folks.
Have a great week.
2, 1.